Okay, section 1.3, we are going to be solving equations with variables on both sides. Okay, so our objective for today's lesson here is you're going to be able to solve linear equations that have variables on both sides and identify special solutions of linear equations. So to start, let's go ahead and look at this first example. Here we want to solve this. Again, what we mean by solve is we want to figure out what x is, so that when I take 10 and subtract a 4 times x, that's going to give me the same thing as a negative 9 times x. So first thing I need to identify where my x's are. Well, I've got an x here and I've got an x here. And then I have what we call a term over here with no x on it. Okay, that's what we call a constant term. So over here we'll call, let's go ahead and let's go a constant term has no x, has no variable. It's just a number added or subtracted. So I want to get all of my x's to one side and all of my constants to the other. So I am going to take this side of the equation, this left side of the equation, since it has my constant, and I want to move this negative 4x over here. So it's subtracted right there. I'm subtracting 4x, so I need to do the opposite of subtraction, which is add. So I'm going to take 10 minus 4x, and we're going to add 4x to both sides. Then we'd have a negative 9x, and we're going to add a 4x to both sides. Again, noticing how I'm showing my work. I write there's the whole left side, there's the whole right side. Excuse me. I write it all out, and then I put my plus 4x on the end. So now we notice this subtract 4x, add 4x gives me 0. So on the left side, I'm just left with a 10. And on the right side over here, I have negative 9x plus 4x, which when I take a negative 9 and add 4, that's going to give me a negative 5x. Okay, now we look at what's going on with the side with my x. Again, there's my x right there. I'm multiplying it by negative 5. I want to get the x by itself, so I'm going to then divide both sides by that negative 5. Again, your end goal is to get that x by itself. So then my so negative 5 divided by negative 5 right there is just 1. So x equals 10 divided by negative 5, which is negative 2. A lot of times we like to flip it over. X equals negative 2. And now I can come over here and I can check it. If I take 10 times 4 times negative 2, okay, I would get 10, negative 4, that's a plus a negative. Negative 4 times negative 2 is going to give me a positive 8. Now the other side, I have negative 9 times negative 2, which is positive 18. So 10 plus 8 does equal 18, so yes, it worked. So there is my solution. We checked it to make sure it worked. Oh no, I'm locked up. There we go. I don't know, my iPad locked up for a minute. All right, so now another example. Example 2, we want to solve, check your solution. Again, first thing, find my x's. I've got 1 there, I've got 1 there. So I'm going to have to get them to both sides, but I have some distributing to do first, because here I have, over here, I've got a 3 times this thing, and I have a 1/4 times this thing. So I'm going to do some distributing first. I need to take the 3 and multiply it in here times both of those. So I'm going to take the 3 times 3x, which is 9x, then take the 3 times the 4, which is negative 12. That's going to equal. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to distribute the 1/4 in. Okay. If I am not sure what 1/4 times 32 is, I can go ahead and I'm going to bring up Desmos. Okay. And I can actually type in 1/4, type in your calculator. That's just a division. And a lot of times we like to do it in parentheses. So we have 1/4 times 32 is 8. So we'll have 8. Somehow I got red. We'll have 8x plus, and then I would take 1/4. I can just delete that 32 and we'll type in 56 and we get 14. So we have 8x plus 14. Now again, where are my x's? Got one here, got one here. I want to get them all to the same side. So there's 2 different ways of doing this here. I could take this 9x and move it over here, or I can take the 8x and move it over here. Either way will work. Doesn't matter which way you do it. I like my x's on the left side over here, so I'm going to move this one over here. So it's a positive 8x, so to get rid of that positive 8x, I'm going to have to subtract it. So I'm going to have 9x minus 12, and I'm going to subtract 8x. equals 8x plus 14 minus 8x. So as you can see, there's my left side of the equation, there's my right side of the equation, and then I just have that extra subtract 8x from both sides. So now put together like terms. I can take the 9x and the 8x and subtract them, and 9x minus 8x is just single x minus 12. This 8x and this negative 8x are going to add to 0, and I just end up with a 14. So now again, there's my x. So to get that by itself, there's a subtract 12, so I would need to add 12 both sides. So my subtract 12, my add 12, those are going to add to 0. 14 plus 12 is 26. Now I'm going to come over here and I want to check it. I'm going to check it back into the original equation. Okay, so I'm actually going to check this using my calculator or Desmo. So I'm going to take 3 parentheses, 3 times 26 and subtract 4. I end up getting 222. Now let's do 1/4 in parentheses times, now parentheses, 32 times 26, add 56, and I get 222. So both the left and right side give me 222, so yes, they are equal. So, oh my goodness, I was glitching again. Sorry guys, my iPad's kind of being glitchy. Okay, so there we checked it in calculator. Okay, so when it says to check your solution, show me. Yep, I checked it in my calculator. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and let's do another one, example 3. Okay, so this one's very similar to this one up here, and that I have that parenthesis issue going on. So let's go ahead and let's distribute again. So let's take this 3 and multiply it in. So 3 times 5, 15x, plus 6 equals 15x. So I've got an x here and an x here. So I'm going to take this 15x and I'm going to subtract it over to that side. Just because this side has a constant, so I just want to get it away from that constant. So we'll have 15x plus 6 subtract 15x equals 15x subtract 15x. Okay, so now this 15x and this 15x, positive 15x minus 15x give me 0. So on the left side I'm left with 6. And on this right side, a positive 15x minus 15x is also 0. So I don't have any x's anymore. I just have a 6 equals 0. How weird. Okay, well, but does this make sense? Is this true? Does 6 equal 0? No, it doesn't. It's not true. So what this tells me about this is I need to solve it. This tells me that since I get a not true statement on the end and my x is completely canceled out, this tells me that there is no number that will make this equal. There is no number that I can put up here in this original equation that will make this side equal to 15x. So I would write here, since there's no number that will work, I will write no solution. There is no solution to this equation. Okay, all right, so this example 3 has no solution. Okay. We've also got another one over here. Here is 3b, example 3b. Okay, let's go ahead and let's work this one out. Let's distribute this guy again. We have another distribution issue there. So we'll distribute. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8y minus 2 equals negative 8y minus 2. Now my variables, there's a y there, there's a y there. I think I'm going to move this one, and I'm going to move it over here by adding 8y to both sides, plus 8y, negative ay minus 2 plus 8y. Okay, so now let's see. Negative 8y plus 8y is 0. Plus that negative 2 is negative 2. Let's look at other side. Negative 8y plus 8y is 0. Plus the negative 2 is negative 2. This one was very similar to this other one, a, in that my variable added out. Like I didn't have a variable anymore. Okay, but in this case, when I ask myself, is it true? Is this last statement true? It is. Yes, it is. Okay, what that tells me is that any number will work. So up here in this original equation, I can put any number I want to in. I could put in a x equals 6. I could put a 6 in here for y, and these two sides will be equal. I could put in a negative 15, and those two sides will be equal. I could put in a 0. I could put in a 2/3. I could put any number I want in, and it will make these two sides equal to each other. So as far as the solution goes, if it says to solve it, as far as the solution goes, we would say any number will work. Any number will work. Okay, so a lot of times we write the solution is all real numbers. So any of our real numbers, so far all the numbers you dealt with are real. There are some that aren't real, they're imaginary, but we'll deal with those later. That's an Algebra 2 issue. But here, so all real numbers will work. So this is what we'd write for our solution, all real numbers. So because it's asking, hey, what numbers will work, will make this equation true? Well, any of them will. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to put it into some steps. Our steps here. So our steps for solving linear equations. Step 1 here. Step 1. Use the distributive property to remove any grouping symbols. What we mean by grouping symbols there is parentheses, square brackets, anything like that. So we want to use distributive property to get rid of those. Okay. Next, make your life easy by simplifying the expression on each side. So what we mean by that, add any like terms. Add like terms. Add the x's to the x's and the constants to the constants. Next, collect the variable terms on one side and the constant terms on the other. So basically move all the x's to one side. Move all x's to one side. Doesn't matter which side. Isolate the variable. Next, get the variable all by itself. And then once you get the variable by itself, okay, to isolate the variable here, we use our inverse operations. If it's add, we subtract. If it's multiply, we divide, so forth and so on. So we want to use our inverse operations. And then last but not least, check your solution. This one can be done in calculator. Can be done with a calculator. But please, please check your solution. There, that bit can be done with a calculator. Okay, so now your practice for today is going to be on page 23. You're going to do problems 2 through 16, the evens, and then 20 through 24, the evens. So again, by 2 through 16 even, I mean 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. And here you're going to do 20, 22, and 24. And then I want you to do 41 through 44. I want you to do all of those, 41, 42, 43, 44. Okay, so there's your practice. Again, do it on a separate piece of notebook paper, making sure you have a proper heading. Write the problem down first, showing all appropriate work. When you have it finished, please check with me. We'll get you the